Getting started with an SMS is often the most difficult thing, and that's what I've experienced in many organisations, is just making a start. That's the hardest bit, and once an SMS has been started, once the ball is rolling, then it becomes easier and easier, and it helps manage itself if it's been well structured. In the video there, it shows the initial approach from John was to appoint someone who might not have been the best safety officer, and almost as a punishment for something they might have done wrong. You need to have people in key positions in the safety management system need to be enthusiastic, as the video says. They need to be champions of the cause. They need to have a good understanding of what a safety management system is, believe in it, be passionate about it, need to be supported certainly by the management team. The cost and inconvenience of fixing a trolley and putting a brake on a trolley is certainly very minor compared towards the cost of replacing a propeller, taking an engine out, having an aircraft offline. That costs a significant amount of money. Might be covered by insurance, but as the video points out, having an accident or incident can certainly drive your insurance premiums up. So in the end, it does cost money. The scenario on the video that shows Nathan complaining about the noise and the impact on his sleep in the hotel in Griffith there it's a realistic one.
Yeah, you young blokes, I don't know. When I was your age, I'd sleep under the wing in a raincoat with a packed lunch and a thermos.
It's quite realistic in so much that the original instance, it's the pilot's problem and the pilot has to get over it. And back in my day, we slept under the wing and, you know, you don't know how good you've got it and that sort of way of thinking. Whereas with a safety management system, I suppose the evolution of thinking and how it's shown, how it's demonstrated in the video is that it becomes an issue the organisation needs to be aware of and the organisation needs to mitigate. It's not just pilot error all the time or the pilot's whinging or the pilot's complaining. The organisation needs to be cognisant of what environmental conditions they're giving their workers and how that can impact safety. As the video shows, working together with another organisation, so the video shows the maintenance organisation putting a hand out to the flying organisation saying, hey, we can work together here. And the same applies to any other organisations. We understand there's commercial competitors out there for most businesses, but if you're working together with competitors in this case, it's a win-win situation. If you can pull your data together, you can identify hazards if you're trending information, or identify hazards that your competitor is having that you haven't thought of or haven't experienced yet.
The definition of good management practice is, of course, very negotiable because it depends on what outcomes you're looking for. When you look at the gentleman managing the operation in your film, it is quite obvious that there is some pretty good management practices going on in terms of keeping the business running, keeping clients happy, being a strong leader with a decisive mindset. However, what I've learned and what the research keeps returning is that leadership or management commitment to safety as a #1 priority is the most, and keeps coming back as the most important element of a safe or high reliability organization.
As well as the crates.
Yep. The personal relationships that a manager has with the people working for her or him are key. And what does that mean? Let me give you an example of a captain, and in fact a lady captain I flew with. She said to me, now before we begin, if there's anything about what I do that you don't like, you tell me. You let me know. And I'll do the same. Now that creates a climate in which it is okay to give bad news to the boss. And I think that is key. That is in fact my key to a safety culture. That is a culture that allows the boss to hear bad news. Small organizations are like families and very often are families. And what's surprising is that, of course, families as small units can be deeply dysfunctional in their communication. So can small organizations. The issue is that once you start playing around with safety critical things like flying people around, flying goods around, you have no excuse to have a dysfunctional pattern of communication. Really, because you're close enough together, the lines, as I said earlier, are short enough, and so people should be able to go across those thresholds and speak to each other about these things, even if it means bad news or stopping production. Now, sometimes this may require some outside mediation or a push from outside, or perhaps the wake-up call of an incident that you really didn't want to have. Then you need to be honest about it and say, actually, we all contributed to the creation of the conditions that set up this incident. This wasn't just pilot error. This was something that we all contributed to. It's only with that honesty and openness that everybody has a contribution to make to both safety and risk that I think communication channels can be open and meaningful.
Well, I want to bring up the point on Rowan's trucks and the way they pack their crates.
If we look at the initial culture, we would call that a pathological reactive culture where the communication is quite poor and people are blaming everybody else for anything going wrong, as you saw John blaming, where people are putting out fires continuously. If you go back and have a look at that, you know, the post-it notes everywhere and trying to address all the issues and becoming overwhelmed by it. And new ideas are discouraged. And we saw that the suggestion that a safety management system was dismissed. That's typical of that type of culture. In the second scenario, we saw what we call a generative culture, which is the top of the tree. It's evolved into where we have strong leadership, people are accountable, people are taking responsibility. If you look at John, you have people being empowered to take on the role of a safety manager. What I like about generative cultures is that it's all about its commitment, not compliance. You know, they go above the compliance, not the bare minimum, it's commitment from management, from the top level, which filters right down, empowers people.
Probably one of the best things that any organisation can do is look at the people that they have within the organisation. A very good example is Trish in the clip. She fresh out of university, lots of fresh information in her mind still from her university course. The engineers have a fantastic knowledge that they can bring to the pilots and even the front desk staff. Learning more about what everyone else's role does is very important for enriching the safety culture of an organisation. So the first thing an organisation can do is harness that, get the people together, find exactly what you have in your pool of resources in terms of your people. And I think you'll find that a lot of organisations have a tremendous wealth in the experience and the education of the people that they have in their organisation. Do a gap analysis of your human resources, find out what you have, and then you can use those resources to basically build your defences up in your safety management system. Build your safety management system up to a level where it's going to make your business efficient as well.